Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will talk to you about the fragrant Dendrobium orchids. This orchid genus is mostly found in Southeast Asia, particularly at altitudes of about 1,000 to 2,000 meters and higher in the foothills of the Himalayas. It is a plant that sheds its leaves in winter and usually lives on rocks. They are exposed to intense heat in the summer and cold in the winter. There is a dry winter in the region where they are located. After the trees shed their leaves, these orchids are exposed to more sun and enter a dry period. Actually, when you look at it, Dendrobium has a succulent character and is very resilient. While previously only white was available in Turkey, now these wonderful colors are imported in different colors. In this video, we will show you the flowering style of this plant, how we should take care of it at home, its need for sun, watering techniques, how to feed it, how to care for it at the end of winter, during spring and summer, its resting and blooming processes, pruning. I will provide information about the soil and pot. First, let's take a look at the blooming style. Now, numerous flowers emerge from canes that vary in length from 20 to 75 cm. So, don't expect it to produce a stem, like other standard orchids, and then wait for it to bloom. You will wait for the existing canes to produce buds. This type of orchid has a stunning blooming in a pot, meaning it has a perfect display. For it to bloom beautifully in a pot, it has a perfect display. For it to be possible, the canes need to be long and healthy, and they should be dense. A showy dendrobium. To be able to own one, you need to follow what I'm about to explain to the letter. It's one of the easiest orchids to grow. But we do not mean that we should leave it unattended and let it produce many flowers. I mean, it's very easy to thrive in life, to grow. So, of course, certain conditions need to be met for it to bloom. As I mentioned at the beginning, it has a succulent character. It stores nutrients and water in its structure. Those canes will bloom beautifully from top to bottom after the resting period. The flowers can last without wilting for about 2.5 months. The canes shouldn't be too close to each other. If they do, the flowers will touch each other, which won't create a nice appearance. To prevent this, they are actually sold as single-stemmed when the stem is still new. But you have a second stem now, let's say in those gaps. I mean between the two stems, between the two canes. Let's say the width of an egg. If you place a styrofoam, at first, it will help them develop accordingly, and they will grow spaced apart from each other. Once the branches are secure and positioned far apart, you remove the styrofoam material in between. This way, when the flowers bloom, they won't touch each other, and it will create a nice appearance. Of course, if you stabilize these canes with those sticks, it will prevent them from breaking, or even drooping to the side. You would prevent that. When it comes to sunlight needs, it requires long periods of direct sunlight throughout the day. You only need to protect it from the midday sun during June, July, and August. In order for it to grow healthily and produce plenty of flowers, you need to adjust the sun very well. For example, I placed it in a transparent pot here. I'll explain the reason for this shortly, but it shouldn't receive sunlight from these areas. That's why in sunny environments, you need to protect it. In my eyes, you need to protect. Normally, it can be said that intense sun does not cause any harm, but too much of it is not good. Also, when it's flowering, it shouldn't receive too much sunlight so that the flowers don't wilt quickly. It should be able to last for 2-3 months. You can gradually place your flower here in a closed balcony during the fall if you have one. It will stay here all winter long. Dendrobium can withstand temperatures as low as 5 degrees. Right now there are no flowers on my plant, but I just wanted to show you the environment. So when it blooms, it will receive sunlight through the back of the tool. If you place it in the right position, your flowers will last much longer. Now when it comes to pruning the flowers, as soon as they fade, cut them off with scissors from where they came out and clean them up. The stem. The process of repotting should be done after the flowers have fallen. When you repot, cut off the unhealthy roots, clean them up, Look, I just took care of it. This is the reason I put it in a transparent pot. I wanted to show you the roots. It's the same as taking care of the roots of other orchids. You can watch this from the link above, my previous videos. Look over there. This is how orchid roots are taken care of. You also, yours need to cut the unhealthy canes here. So, if you have 3 to 5 canes, cut one or two of them diagonally, about 3 to 5 centimeters above the soil. And sprinkle some cinnamon on top so that there won't be any rot going down. So, where was it now? Look here, the previous canes have been cut so that the healthy ones can... I give good care so that it can bloom more. That's why we prune it like this. As for the potting mix, unlike other orchids, you shouldn't just use orchid soil, meaning pine bark. Here you can mix pine bark, pumice stone, and coconut coir into it. It would be better to use a plastic or ceramic pot instead of a transparent pot. Make sure the sunlight hitting the side surfaces doesn't harm the roots. Don't let it cook them. The size of the pot should be one that the roots can barely manage. In larger pots, the roots get suffocated and die because it needs to be a bit cramped. Now let's move on to the propagation process. We need to do the propagation process in the spring. First of all, there are actually two methods. I will explain how we can propagate from the new cane that develops on this cane. Before taking this extra developed cane, it especially needs to be rooted. This little baby will have a small root development. If we mist it in cool weather, both the moisture and that breeze will speed up the rooting process even more. When we see plenty of roots, we can separate it from here. After some processes, we can bury it in the soil and propagate it. After we take out the rooted baby, let's see what process we will follow after taking it out. Look, there's a small root at the tip. That's enough for me. If you want, you can wait for it to root more. And that is, you can wait for it to root even more while it is on the reed in cool weather. But this is enough for me. Look. It was a protrusion from the edge of the bamboo, just like this. And it had a root. I separated this from here. We propagate it this way. We're not planting this seedling right away. As I just mentioned, we'll lay a damp paper towel at the bottom of a box with a transparent lid. And we'll place it on top of that. I'm putting a napkin right away. I'm wetting it with a spray bottle. We're laying it down like this on top, and we will close it tightly. You'll keep it closed during the day for a week so it doesn't get any air, and then take it out at night. It needs to stay in a place where it can catch cool breezes until morning. At night, spray plenty of water using a spray bottle, so try to keep it moist as much as you can at night. In the morning, lay the container with the damp towel on top again. Close the lid again. You need to repeat this for a week. It needs to be in a very bright place during the day, but not in direct sunlight, of course. You'll keep spraying like this continuously, at night on top of it, but during the day, the lid will be tightly closed and it will wait like this. Why are we doing this? We're doing this so that there won't be any rot where we cut it, and so the roots can be more vibrant and active. After a week, you can put it in a small pot if you want, but I will place it back into the soil of my own plant, so that the roots, since it's a transparent pot, I can check on it. Now, when it comes to watering our plant, we shouldn't use other orchid fertilizers. The more skillfully you handle feeding, watering, and giving sunlight to this plant, the more beautifully it will bloom. Now, if it keeps getting nutrients throughout the year and is regularly watered all year round, it will grow wildly and won't bloom. Instead of blooming, it grows tangled and long. Larger reeds are formed and produce small offspring, but it won't bloom. There is a technique for this, and there's a specific way to apply it. Of course, for example, there is spring care at the end of winter. When the flowers wilt, they should be able to get stronger sunlight. When our plant starts to bloom, give it equal parts NPK general purpose plant food, once every 3 waterings. You will give it when the soil is completely dry. Only water. This way, the stems will grow faster and fuller. It's the middle of spring, and increase the watering frequency according to the leaves. You will water when the soil is half dry. From mid-May onwards, make sure it doesn't get too much of the direct sunlight from above, like around 1 o'clock. your plant. In the summer months, protect it from direct sunlight. Keep it in the sun for a few hours in the morning and afternoon. Your flower, spray water in environments where it's breezy at night. This plant loves it very much. Starting from mid-July, we stop using the general purpose plant food I mentioned earlier and switch to flower-specific plant food. It's phosphorus heavy. We give this once every 4 waterings. The goal here is to eliminate the hollowness of these fast-growing reeds. They need to mature and strengthen to become a reservoir of nutrients and energy. In mid-September, we completely stop feeding and also reduce the watering frequency. Starting from the end of September, it can comfortably see the midday sun because our plant will have been pruned from these areas. Because the flowers have wilted and fallen, we are now letting it rest. It can now get plenty of sunlight. Our plant, at the end of September, in order for our plant to bloom again next year, it needs to be rested. Resting is done by leaving it without water for at least a month and ensuring that our flower gets cold at night. The temperature at night should be no more than 14 degrees. During the day, it needs to get as much sunlight as possible. If the leaves get damaged from being too wet or cold, don't worry about it at all. The branches shouldn't be left so dry that they wilt. You need to pay attention to it. I suggest this for Istanbul, for example, from mid-October to mid-December to keep it on a closed balcony alone. If you place it on a closed balcony, it's quite suitable. At least 1 month. After our plant gets cold, it should be placed back in its original spot in the house, meaning in front of a window where it can receive a lot of sunlight. That's all. The information I have about the Dendrobium orchid. If you like this video, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell to watch my other videos.